Yeah, absolutely, man.
So I guess how do you start recording people? How does that process start working for you?
It happened at other people's houses because it took a really long time. There was like a gap where like I would give somebody a beat, but I wouldn't really like. Okay, so the first time I ever recorded my own voice, I had to God, it was Audition before it was Adobe Audition, and it was the first app that I used where you can line up two tracks. So I would have a beat. I had a little beef with a friend of mine. So like we would like he said he could rap better than me, and I was like, I don't rap very often, but I could rap better than you. So we would record things through Audition. We got them bootleg. Got a file. In our senior year of high school, we just send each other disses. Like, hold up, I send you a diss. It's like, you're a bitch. You don't eat. You piece of shit. You like Burger King over McDonald's, like that kind of shit, like ridiculous disses that just didn't have any weight at all. But it was the first time that I got familiar with the idea of like, if this could, once it leaves my hands, I don't know how it's going to be received. He was angry because I talked about his cousin who was in my eyes a bitch. Like I thought he was the super biggest bitch in the world. He was just a dumb person. He had a narrow head. I used to talk about how narrow his head was, and I like talked about that on the song.
How did you guys get it? You burn discs and hand out the discs, email the files, or
Man, look, we used to email him, which would take forever. So like you would that the files would be like, God, man. So the first one I did burn him a disc and gave it to him. I was like, listen to this because you're gonna need this because you're gonna re-listen to this fire from arson that's gonna burn your whole house down. And then I emailed him one. But yeah, it was trash, man. It was trash. But it was great because it was the first time that I could record something and hear my voice, and I was like, I have a weird voice. It's too heavy. I feel like it's not a like a rapper's voice. Everybody sounds like they just that one of their balls dropped. It's like just if you have that voice where it's like that voice works so well over my octave. I feel like think about anybody that's popular. It's like Drake's and the baby actually has a deep voice. The baby has a pretty heavy voice, but like you know he's also an extraordinary sort of word sayer, like in my eyes.
he's got a whole vibe. If you
Yeah,
can
yeah,
bring
he
a
does.
vibe, because I was just thinking DMX had a whole vibe. He rocked that
He
voice.
did.
Say what you will. Ja Rule had a whole vibe for a minute. Rocked that
He
voice
did.
well. Pac had a
And
vibe.
cornrows.
Rocked it.
Cornrows and deep voices together equal a smash hit. I don't care what you say.
Murder.
Yep.
Nah, but nah. I mean, you also can go the thoughtful route though. You can
Yep.
always take that. I'm super pensive with my rhymes. You should listen to every kind of word that I say. Philosophical bars for days.
Yeah.
That just doesn't work as well for mass sales, but
Yeah.
totally niches you in.
Totally. The problem is I like too much what people call fuck shit. I like a lot of fuck shit. I like fights and like I would like World Star and like I'm a that I always have to battle this in my head because like I'm a pretty positive person, but I also like to see people get knocked out. It's like a weird thing. It's like the animal part of our brains that just desires to see somebody get kicked in the nuts. It's always existed in us. I'm
That's
just a little more honest about it than most.
no. I mean, I feel bad for the people who get kicked in the nuts. That's what happens when I watch it. I'm just like,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I can't help it. I'm not really into
Yeah,
it, but I understand the desire because I like
yeah,
the
yeah,
other
yeah,
formats. I like
yeah.
animal fights because there's no people involved, but it's basically the same shit. You're just watching like two fucking animals going at it. It's a wonderful time. It's
Yeah.
like it's pretty weird, but it's still a wonderful time. Um, so basically, you're doing beats in high school. You're going by to people's cribs. You guys start recording. You start doing little diss tracks that you're sending back and forth. Do you ever get around
Yeah.
to like actually going further with it at that point?
No. So my friend Blizz had a group called Bemaray Records. Like it was like a group, and they would record rap rap songs. Why am I saying it like this? Why am I saying it like a person who's never heard this before? They would record songs, and it was like really pretty dope because it was like they had like a system. It was like 5 or 6 of them in a group. They would they had a producer, an in-house producer. He would lay down the songs. They'd record them, put them out, sell their CDs. And I just kind of sat around and I'd be like, man, I have some beats. Like I waited like 6 months of just sitting in those sessions, and I was like, I have beats. And then I played some, and they were just like, these are dope, but like, you know, nothing really happened. You know, it was nice to hear that somebody outside of myself was like, oh, these are pretty good beats. But you know, they had an in-house producer, and he did the majority of that stuff. So I didn't really have a taste of like hearing somebody over my beat for quite some time. Like it really took quite some time before I heard it, you know, before I heard it. Yeah. And I'd say, not to skip around, like, but Tizzy and I really started doing stuff together because of a drunken night with a friend in like this suburban area of Baltimore, called Towson. It's like Towson, Maryland, Towson University. Amy Schumer went there. I went there. I was like out one day, and there was this drunken man, and he was getting hot dogs behind me. Didn't pay any attention to him. He was like 6'5", and this really pretty girl that was like athletic build. And she asked me if I could guess the name of the picture on her phone, she would give me a kiss. And I said, kind of quickly, not paying any attention, I was like, that's a marmoset. The reason I knew that is because I used to watch a lot of shit with like animals. So I turned around, and then the girl kisses me. Like I wasn't paying any attention. Like I thought, okay, she's gonna walk away. That's the thing drunken people say. I turn around, the girl kisses me. Upon that happening, the dude with the hot dogs that was at the hot dog stand grabs my shoulder and says he's gonna fuck me up. I come to find out that's the woman's big brother, and he's gonna fuck me up. So I start trying to tell jokes before he's gonna beat me up, and he starts laughing at me. And he's like, I like you. Like I was gonna fuck you up, but I really like you. I can't believe this happened. And then his friend was like, why don't you come with us to our apartment, and we'll just talk and eat some pizza. I'll take these hot dogs to these girls. We got there, and I found out what the guy I was walking with was a producer. He was a producer, and he was like, he had a studio at a farm, and I knew that Tizzy rapped. So I was like,
This is
yo,
like all kinds of wild, this story. I just have to
yeah,
throw
yeah.
that in.
So I'm like, so I hit Tizzy up. I'm like, yo, I know a dude on a farm that has a studio space, and I make beats. We should make something together, and that'll be a thing. And from that, the Whackness came out. The Whackness, Tizzy's mixtape. That's on. He recently re-released it on Spotify. It's like one of the better freshman mixtapes you'll probably ever hear. It's like real all over the place, but I produced a bunch of stuff on it, and I rapped on it. It was like one of the first times that I'd ever like rapped, for real rapped. I wrote a 16 and put it on a song, and I was like, this is a little weird, but it was fun. And that kind of created this bug that years later, became Catch the Fade.
So I remember Tizzy's version of that from the Tizzy interview, which is fun to
Okay.
hear your side of it. I think his was more Tizzy centric, to be honest. But you were definitely
So,
mentioned a lot. I remember
so it
at
was
least
a lot of farts. It was a lot of farts and like
facts.
facts. Okay.
That's
Go
what
ahead,
was
but
going on.
you were
He was
saying
just the whole way
Tizzy
through.
centric.
Yeah, I mean it was a Tizzy show. Now we're in the Ron James show, so
Yeah.
it's Ron James centric. Yeah, he gave you a lot of love, a lot of fucking love.
He's
Because I was like, yo, I gotta talk to Ron James after. I just was
Yeah.
left with that impression.
He's a brother I never had, honestly. Like he and I are like
Yo, he's like in the
good
comments
dude.
nonstop commenting this whole interview. Like he's there.
For real?
This is how the whackness started! Exclamation mark! Exclamation mark! Lol. And then followed by all caps. He killed that shit! Double exclamation mark! Lol. Then Exo's going. My very first time being introduced to Sir Tizzy. Still bump that to this day. Followed by Sir Tizzy going. Ronald, relax. LMAO. Oh, oh, oh.
Because that was a crazy time, man. Like it felt fresh, and I think what I wanted, and this is something I never really thought about until just now, was like I needed him to know that he could have something that could last forever. Like regardless of how many people listen to it, it could be once you do it, you can't undo it unless you erase it. But once you put it out into the air, you just don't know. But like creating it was probably one of the more special things I've ever done. I got into a really bad car accident right after we recorded it. Almost died in a car accident. I should have did through the wire right now. I almost died, but I really in my head was like, damn, I should have written like a through the wire right there. Should have. Fuck. You worried about not dying and healing, and I was like, damn, I should have made through the wire just right there in my bed.
I
Shit.
mean, I appreciate the sentiment because I'm pretty sure I'd be more like on that tip looking back on it now, but it's still fucked up that like that experience happened, and it's pretty blessed that you survived it and were able to do a whole bunch of incredible shit post that. But you said you went to college, and this sounded like it happened after college, or is it in college that this is happening?
Yeah, it was yeah, right. The accident happened right after college. I
So, so
had to learn how to use my right hand again. So like it was really hard because I really wanted to make beats again. I really wanted to do stuff again, but my right hand wasn't working. So I had to like go to therapy and stuff like that. So at the time, so this is so weird, man. I was testing video games kind of on and off for a couple years. And then I'd gotten like a more normal job, and I got into the accident right after that. And I couldn't work for a while because my right hand just didn't work. Like I had to relearn how to use it. I was in a lot of pain. I had to get a metal plate put in it, and that was right around the time that the whackness kind of came out because I was like recovering, which is crazy that I'm thinking about that. But yeah, it was like this traumatic experience. Uh, but also Tizzy getting that album out. So like it was like the good part about it was that this album came about. I actually got into the accident on the way to picking up the mix and mastered CD of the whackness, which is crazy. Crazy to think about. Yeah.
definitely, man, it's like a big one. I'm really
Yeah.
glad that you got through it, and it
Thanks, man.
sounds like a fucking rough experience.